Do it.
We're back with another Baschamania 237 Monday morning. Bo Bassett in front of the ocean. How are you, man?
Doing great. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm a big fan of the podcast, and it's just a blessing to be here. But really
I appreciate that, man. We've been talking for a while about having you on, and I'm a big believer in not forcing an episode, and when the timing's right, it's always the best show possible. And here we are, 2 weeks out from the recruiting window opening up for you. You just made a junior world team. I'm like, all right, now's the time. So I guess let's just start right off with this weekend, adding another accolade to your resume, making your first junior world team. You beat Ada Valencia 2 in a row. How's it feel taking yet another step? I know you want to go and win a junior world championship now, but checking that off the list of making a junior world team, how's that feel?
Feels great. I think it's huge for me to get back on the world team. It's been 3 years since the U17 team. And, I've been hungry. I've been really chasing that ever since. And so to get back, it's huge. I've had some really good years, but never put the cherry on top with that world team and the world gold at the end of the year. So I feel like, that's been a big push ever since that first world team in 2021. And so I'm really excited to be back. I had a really, really tough weight class. So it was a lot of battles the whole way to get here, and, just to be here. And now it's time to, a lot of work to do until September. So really excited.
Yeah, when I was kind of preparing for this conversation last night, and I'm looking like, man, he hasn't made a world team since 2021. It feels like you're always kind of there. You compete so much, and I'm like, I love how much you're always striving for. We're going to talk about weight cutting a little bit, but there's always things people can do if you really just wanted to make a team. You could cut down, you could do this age group. You're always striving for more. Even just a couple months ago, trying to make the Olympic trials as a 16-year-old. And to watch it, it adds so much excitement. There's so much fun. We talk about the depth the United States has right now. And when you got guys like you in the last chance qualifier, teching an NCAA champion, Anthony Ashnall, as a teenager, what is that experience like? You're constantly striving for so much that it's easy to say, hasn't made a world team in 3 years. Kid's also a teenager at the Olympic trials, always striving for, the most possible.
Right. Yeah, I think for me, it's just always trying to challenge myself. My dad has always preached to us when we were young. He calls it chasing lions. And it's almost like chasing losses, chasing guys that you're not supposed to beat, right? Guys that are maybe older, bigger, whatever it may be. And so that's what I've always done since I was young. And I think even like you said, even these past couple of world teams, it's not like I was running from anyone to try to make a world team. The 1 year, I slowed it all down. He was the returning world champ. And, I came up short that year, but I feel like that only made me better. And then I chased him down after that to try to get that win back. And, and things like that really, really challenge you. And so now, I've gotten bigger, and that's just, I'm trying to get as big as I can. I'm trying to really maximize these years and try to get as big and strong as I can. So, I went up 10 kilos since last year, and it's not like I'm going up or cutting down from anyone. I'm going right at it. Valencia is a guy who's beaten, he's tech followed some really, really good senior level guys. And so, he's won some opens overseas and stuff. And I think that, I'm not running from anyone. So I'm just trying to wrestle as hard as I can, and, whatever happens, happens. But I know that the training I put in is, going to get me where I want to go.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, there's all this excitement at the last chance with you making the finals, and you ran into what at that weekend was a buzzsaw in Kolodzic. And one of the things that stuck out to me is that not only do you have high expectations for yourself, but I was impressed with how you balanced defeat with humility. A lot of times I share out results, and I know the guy who lost is kind of bummed. Obviously, he lost. Sometimes, seeing the graphic, so-and-so beat so-and-so, it can sting. Like tomorrow night, Alira Mendez, I'll probably post out a graphic with the winner. It's going to sting for the loser to see it, And I think losing with grace and humility, I think one of the best examples I can think of on a big stage recently is Bo Bartlett, NCAA's. Falls short to Mendez. You see him kind of smiling like, damn, that one got away from me. And it wasn't a lot of pouting, saltiness like we can sometimes see. But for you, you congratulated Kolodzic. I can't remember if it was my graphic, you're sharing like, hey, man, congrats. Like, you went and got it. And you're young, dude. Like, you have that maturity growing early. What's that like to kind of manage that and deal with that, early on when, Listen, when I was 16, I don't think I was that mature in handling things like that.
Correct. Yeah. Ultimately, I want people to not, they want to watch the match, and if all they saw was the end, I don't want them to know if I won or lost. I want to carry myself the same way if I win, carry myself the same way if I lose, and I think that, when I challenge myself and wrestle the best guys, that's going to be something that you're going to run into a lot. And so I've been taught the right things by my coaches. I couldn't do it without them. So I think that handling yourself when you win is great, but also when you lose is really important as well.
100%. I always say you don't really see someone's character in victory. It's easy to, do things that maybe make you look like you have character. But I think when you lose, you see someone's character. And I want to talk about you going up in weight. But before that, as we speak of maturity and things like that, you hear a lot of chatter about how much some of you young guys compete. And someone like you who has so many accolades, competes nonstop, has all these accomplishments left and right, and you haven't even gotten to that meat grinder, which is the 4 or 5 years of college wrestling. How much thought do you give towards ensuring longevity and not burning out, whether mentally, physically, preventing injuries, all that? A lot of people, they don't really know they're going to burn out until they just do. And you seem like a smart kid, maturing quickly. How much thought are you giving into, competing a lot, but making sure you don't burn out in the long run?
Right. I think that that's really important. I plan to wrestle as long as I can, as old as I can. I think that as long as my body allows, as long as God allows me to wrestle, I'm going to. And so, obviously I'm only, going to be a junior in high school next year. And I think that, I'm really early in my career. So I have to put that into perspective. I got to keep myself healthy. And I think that it's just a lot of training smarter, and obviously I compete a lot, but that's what I love to do. So I think that that's not going to stop. I'm going to keep competing, and then when you get to college, it's almost stepped up another level. You're wrestling every single week, multiple times a week. So, it's definitely not going to get easier as far as that. And I think that being able to compete a lot at a young age is going to prepare me for that. So I'm ready for that, type of schedule. And I'm really excited for that, whether it's, whatever conference it may be. Every schedule in college D1 is real, and it's tough. And I'm one of those guys. I'm not going to sit out. I'm going to wrestle every match, and I'm going to go after it. And that's always been my mindset. So I think preparing for that at a young age is important. And the longevity is really important, too, because I do want to wrestle for a long time. And taking time off here and there is important. Diet's really important. Yeah, drinking water and all that type of stuff is things that I'm really, focusing on a lot more later, now that I'm older and really seeing that I want to do this for a long time. So I think that it's really starting to become more important, and I think just training smarter is something that I'm really looking into.
Yeah, and I think obviously one thing that, even as a fan, I can kind of see is that your desire to not cut a lot of weight. You mentioned going up in weight. You wrestled like 113 to 130s, and now you're doing the freestyle circuit at 65. That's, again, early mature decision to decide to compete at a healthier weight, which puts less wear and tear in your body. You see so many kids in the sport trying to cut the weight because sometimes if you can cut the weight, it might be easier because you're a bigger guy, whatever. You've made the decision to not really cut. And like you said, you don't really run from guys, you go up. What went into that decision to go up? And, I remember you did an interview with Wrestling Mindset back in the fall, and I remember you talking about, you were excited for this decision becoming to play. Now you've kind of had a whole season, you've had a whole cycle where you've seen it play out. So what went into that decision, and as you look back at this cycle, this season, whatever you want to call it, how do you kind of reflect on that?
So at the beginning of the year, I went up in weight, and that's never an easy thing to do. That's always challenging and almost, scary at the beginning. And, honestly, it played out better than I could even imagine probably back then. I think just wrestling in a bigger way for me, I felt better. Wasn't, feeling anything in matches. Guys were bigger, but they weren't that much bigger, and it's not like my strength isn't there. We trained strength a whole lot. So my strength was there. And I just felt great, and a lot went into that over the summer. Like you said, it went from 113 to a 138. Now I wrestle 143 and a half. And, I plan to keep getting, yeah. Yes, I think the whole thing behind that, my dad's an unbelievable strength coach, an unbelievable life coach, but I think a lot of credit goes to him. Coach Myers from Gut Check has helped me out a ton over the summer with workouts and a lot of supplements, things like that. So, I think it's just putting a lot of time in, sacrificing and putting in a lot of calories over the summer. It was pretty intense. A lot of eating, a lot of drinking protein shakes, and I honestly I'd do it again every single time. I think it was the best decision I could have possibly made. Than to just keep sucking down. And I think ultimately, come competition day, everybody weighed in at the same weight that morning. And when you wrestle at the best events, you have multiple day weigh-ins. So it's not like these guys are more than 15 pounds over. They're within 10 to 15 pounds that same day. So it's not like they're going to have a huge advantage. And I think that feeling good is probably more of an advantage than being big. So I think it's a great decision, and I'm going to keep working on getting bigger. So I think the bigger they are, the quicker they break.
Yeah, no, that's a great mindset to have, especially when you can kind of cut out so much of that extreme weight cutting like we see. How much, too, I love, it was funny. We're going to talk recruiting in a couple of minutes, but you put out a post a while ago saying, I'm going to release my top schools today, and then you basically put a graphic out with every D1 college logo, which I thought was hilarious. And one of the other things that stuck out to me is I think you shared Proverbs 3:5-6, and it's trust in the Lord with all your heart. And for you, it's like, I've watched you now for a while, and I see your faith playing into your career more and more. For you, how important has your faith been in this journey so far?
It's everything. Up until the last couple of years, it wasn't it didn't take over my life yet. And these last couple of years, though, it's definitely became obviously the biggest part of my life for sure. And I think a thing that changed my life is I was at the Olympic Training Center with the senior level world team. And, all the best guys are out there. You got the Snyders, Spencer Lees, Zane Rutherford, all the guys, Kyle Dick, they're all out there, right? And you're training alongside them, and it's great. You learn a lot in the wrestling room. You do. You learn a lot as a person and, eating the meals and stuff. But I think where I learned the most is we had Bible studies. And, whether it was, the chaplains that would run them at FCA or Kyle Snyder would even run them. I think that's where you learn the most, right? As a person, in your faith. And for me, that's when it really took over. And I honestly can say the last couple of years, just believing, trying to represent the Lord, I think that everything has gone better for me. And those problems that I've had back in the day aren't so big anymore. And, there's a bigger purpose. And I think, I can just wrestle freely. And, I had my Jesus shirt on and my Pathos socks with the cross, and they always have a Bible verse on them. And I think that being able to represent, you just wrestle free and you wrestle your best. And for me, that's all that I'm really trying to do. And, I know if wrestling was taken away from me, I still have God, and that's the most important thing. So I think, seeing the best guys in our sport go into these Bible studies, believing in God and saying what it's done for their life, that completely changed me. It changed my wrestling life. It changed my social life, and it changed, everything for me. So a lot of, I think a lot goes to that, and, now it's become everything.
Yeah, and faith is so contagious. And, I've been on the phone with these guys like Brooks and Nolf and others who, when that's just who they are, and it's contagious, and you've seen them have success. You see them wrestle freely. It's definitely an awesome thing for the sport. I think you're doing a good job at carrying yourself in that line. Another aspect that I'm interested in too is, there's a couple people I was talking to this morning who I was talking about what I'm doing today, a couple of non-wrestling people. And I said, I'm having this high schooler on the podcast. And you don't really have too many high schoolers on. Who is he? I'm like, he's a superstar. And one of the quickest ways I can describe you to a non-wrestling person is that you have over 100,000 followers, which is bananas. It's, even if wrestling is stripped from you right now, you have an audience that is very valuable. I work with small businesses for a living, and they all want more followers. You have more followers, you can monetize, you can drive value to your business. So, there's definitely a lot of perks to that. I'm curious for you at such a young age, having that, with a lot of followers comes a lot of responsibility. You're under constant scrutiny for what you share. There's a lot of love and a lot of hate for you, and you do such a good job at your social media, putting out content, and you seem to not get too distracted by it. For you, what's that process been like of balancing focusing on your brand and building a great brand? And anytime I DM you or engage with you, you're responding pretty quickly. Like, you're pretty in tune, but you're also not getting distracted by it.
100%. Social media is huge now, obviously, and building a brand has been something that I've been working on. Myself and my family, we've been really putting a lot of time into that since I can remember. The last couple of years, I've really tried to put myself out there and be a role model for those coming up through. And I mean, honestly, I'm just trying to put out a positive image, be the best person I can be. And it doesn't matter what age someone is. I feel like that I'm putting out stuff that people can learn from, and I'm also trying to learn on there as well. And I think social media gets a bad rap. Kids, at a young age, parents don't like it because they're wasting time on there. But there's a lot of really good things on there that you can do, and you can follow the right people, and you got a lot of really good stuff on there that you can learn from. And we have a film study on Wednesdays at my school, and I honestly some of the best stuff that you can learn as far as mentality and life, and just being able to keep proceeding in life is on social media. And we're sending videos to my dad who runs our film study, and man, there's some really amazing stuff on the internet, and we watch it there, and that's one of the main messages when we go there is don't waste time on the internet. Put out good stuff, but also be consuming good stuff. And I think I've just been able to try to do that the best that I can, and I've really grown my following in this last year. I actually it's pretty cool. There's this thing that we do in my high school, and you can send yourself an email from a year ago. And so there's this one thing, I don't even know what it's called, maybe like futureme.org or something. And so I sent an email from last year, and I can remember I was like 40 pounds less. But the crazy part was I had, I think, like 35,000 followers last year, May 31st, 2023. And now, it's June now, but May 31st, 2024, I had over 100,000 followers. And so for me, that was huge, right? I was able to grow my brand and grow my page. And, I think that being able to put out a positive image and doing it the right way is extremely important. Being a good role model is, I think, the number one thing here.
Yeah, and it's crazy, too, because in that past year, from Memorial Day, let's call it last year, Memorial Day this year, you didn't win an NCAA title. You didn't win a world title, but you're being diligent with your opportunities. You're competing in the last chance. You get mentioned a lot. You're resharing it. I do think, we often mix up creating and consuming, and I think every individual and every family needs to approach it what's best for them. I saw my wife just sent me a thing that Chip and Joanna Gaines aren't going to let their kids on social media until they're 18, until they go to college or something. And it's like everybody can do what works for them, but there is so much you can get off social media if you do it right. And I think you're doing a good job of that. And I think that's one reason you already got endorsement deals. You've got, Rudis, you've got the ice plunge company. Like, you've got so many different things going. For you, how much has that taught you with even responsibility? Like, a lot of times kids want endorsement and brand deals, but they don't want to do the work of going to go do the photo shoot, going to do this, make this video. And it's teaching you at a young age the responsibility that comes along with somebody saying, hey, we want to pay you to do this. Now you have to actually follow through and do it.
Correct. I think it's amazing. The opportunities that I've been given as far as, endorsements, partnering up with people is huge. And I think that, it's a lot of responsibility, but I think that's great to do that at a young age. It teaches you a lot, right? You're going to have a lot of responsibility later in life. And so, I have a lot of help. My family helps me a ton, and out to Rudis in Ohio and getting to this company here, there, getting to Soupless down in Idaho. And I think that all that stuff is really important. And so I'm really, investing in that stuff. And I think that learning about, how to manage your money and learning about just being able with contracts and things like that. And, I think all that stuff is really cool. And, the younger I can learn to do that stuff, I think the better. So it's only going to set me up for later. It's huge.
100%. I think the more people can, I've encouraged people to take the smallest deal possible at times just because it teaches you. All of a sudden you get blindsided with like, hey, you got to compete next week. We want a video. We want this. And I think, take whatever deal you can to a degree, if it's the right character fit, if it's the right brand fit, but don't worry about the financial amount initially. Just getting those deals under your belt and seeing what it's like is so important for so many athletes. And now, I guess that's a great segue into the fact that we are 2 weeks out from the recruiting window opening up for the class of 2026, where you guys can be contacted. You've got to be likely one of the most sought-after recruits ever, if not ever in a long time. You have the success, you have the character, you have the brand. I think there's not many D1 coaches that aren't going to be reaching out to you. What's your perspective heading into June when in less than 2 weeks now, college coaches can start calling you?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. It's going to be fun. And like you said earlier, that post that I put out, I just kind of want to make the point that everyone's in the run, and I'm not really slotted in anywhere. I don't prefer any other schools over anyone else, and I'm really excited to be open as far as college recruiting. I'm excited to go see where I best fit, and I think that there's a lot of different factors that I'm looking into, but I think it's just where I can, be the most accessible and get the most out of it. I'm going to take my visits. I'm not going to recruit on day. I'm not going to commit on day one or probably within the first month to 6 months. I think that it's one of those things. I'm going to take my time and really make the right decision. You only get that decision once, and I'm a pretty low guy, so I don't really see myself transferring out ever. So I think wherever I go, that's where I'm going to be for 4 or maybe more years, obviously, after that. So really excited for this process, and June 15th is coming quick, so not much time to prepare. It's just it's time to get after it.
And you're an interesting case study because I imagine a lot of high-profile recruits are very interested in NIL. And you already have endorsement deals. You have Rudis. You have these other things where, for some recruits, if you don't have a single deal, you have no income. Like NIL could play a huge role because what the alleged numbers are some kids are getting, it's crazy. Like I get why somebody that is offered life-changing money would be like, hey, that's enticing. For you kind of already have NIL deals, so it's not everything. What is your perspective on NIL heading into this window?
It's becoming more and more important, I think, as we keep going on in time. But I think NIL is obviously a factor. But I think for me, I'm worried about making the right decision as far as where I'm going to be the best person, where I'm going to be the best wrestler, and where I can have the most success as far as life. And the right people around me, the right teammates, the right coaches, the right location, all that stuff's really important. And then obviously NIL is definitely a factor. And that's just part of life now. That's part of recruiting. That's part of wrestling now. And I think it's great for the sport, but it shouldn't be everything. And so I'm really excited to discuss that stuff. But again, I think it's really important to just make the right decision as far as where I can be my best self.
Do you kind of answered the question about a timetable. You're not interested in committing day one. You're going to take your time. Do you have a timeline in your head of when you'd like to commit to somewhere by?
I think that, hopefully that I'll just be pushed in the right direction as far as, I want to go on visits. I want to connect with teams. And so, no, I don't really have a timetable, but I can tell you it's not going to be fast. It's not going to be a quick commitment. It's not going to be, I already have a deal or something with the team. I definitely don't. I think that I'm going to calls. I'm going to hear everybody out and see what best fits me. But no timetable, but it's not going to be a fast process.
I want to throw a few of the top schools at you and get your thoughts. There's a couple schools that stick out that have interesting notes to me that I'm sure their fan bases kind of want to hear what your thoughts are. First, Penn State. Absolute winners, one of the biggest dynasties, if not the biggest dynasty in college sports. And, you've shared some photos. It's funny how, again, we talk about you being under the spotlight, being scrutinized. You share a photo with a Penn State guy and people are commenting, so you're going to Penn State? Right away. It's like, oh, he shared a photo with Bo Nickel. He's going to Penn State.
Yeah, I think, I'll talk about Penn State. So, obviously Penn State may be one of the best dynasties, obviously just in wrestling, but maybe in any sport. What they're doing is insane, and it'll be cool to see how they keep just progressing and trying to get better. That's always a challenge, but they always obviously probably overdo any expectations that they're ever given. And it's pretty insane to see them keep winning and honestly getting better. Like, they keep just dominating. So I think it's pretty cool to see. And I had the opportunity to train there once and twice a week at the NLWC. So, I've been in the room. I've trained with their guys. Obviously, it's a lot local. It's really close. It's only about an hour and 15 minutes. And what they're doing is working. And it's pretty cool to see that. I know a lot of guys there, and my cousin goes there now, Eric Gibson. So I think that, Penn State is an unbelievable place. They're doing unbelievable things. And, you got a lot of people online that have definitely, wrote their tweets. But again, really excited for the process as far as choosing a school.
One thing that I brought up that I said would be interesting when Willie and I did a show about David Taylor getting the Oklahoma State job, and I had said it's interesting that, we're going to start seeing David versus Cal as kind of a recruiting, competition almost. And for you, what an exciting time. If you have one of the biggest coaching hires ever, David Taylor taking Jimmy Kennedy and Thomas Gilman with him, going to Oklahoma State to kind of revive the program, to try to get it to that upper echelon where it's competing for a national title. And for you, it's interesting because you don't really have that quick timetable, so you can kind of wait and see how the next 6 months plus play out before you make a decision. What were your thoughts when you saw David going to Oklahoma State? I'm assuming, I know you're open to everywhere, but part of that is watching everywhere and seeing what people are doing. What was your thoughts as that kind of all unfolded?
So first of all, I've known David for a long time. He did a couple of camps at Young Guns, and I was probably in elementary school, middle school. And he's always been an unbelievable person, unbelievable coach. And my dad honestly called it from the beginning. He's an unbelievable wrestler, right? Olympic champ. He's won world titles and things like that. But I think what my dad said, he hit it nail on the head a couple of years ago. He said he's probably going to be a better coach than he is wrestler. And that's pretty crazy, obviously, being what he is as a wrestler. And always been really good with that. And then obviously he had his own wrestling club, which I went to a couple of camps there. But Young Guns has always been my main place. And so, I didn't really get to see him that much as far as a coach, but a little bit here and there. And now obviously he took over to college and he's down in Oklahoma State, and I think that that's probably going to be a rivalry now with Penn State and Oklahoma State. You get a hire like David Taylor and Thomas Gilman and staff, and I think that it's unbelievable what they have on there, and it's pretty cool. I think, when I heard the rumor, I almost didn't believe it. And then obviously it all happened really fast. And they made the hire here, and then the Gilman hire and the Kennedy hire, and I think it's unbelievable what they have going on there. I know that I think it's pretty enticing, and it'll be fun to see how it plays out in the next couple of months and maybe over the next year. And I think that'll be a cool rivalry if they have it, and we'll see how things go. But I think, like I said, David's an amazing coach, amazing person, and it's pretty awesome what they got going on.
Two more schools I want your opinion on. One is Ohio State. I just had Jesse Mendez on here Saturday, and that kid just not only oozes confidence for himself, but for the young Ohio State squad coming back next year. And when people ask me just my 2 cents on where I think I could see you, I'm like, listen, Penn State's got all these hammers, and they've had so much success, and they've got all the training partners. Oklahoma State is now, all the rage, all the hype, a lot of expectation. Ohio State is another one that I look at and think, it's got a lot of young bucks. I know you wouldn't be there for a couple of years, but they have a young team. You've got Rudis up there, and you've got, again, another program where I think one of the cool recruiting storylines for you will be, you could go to a school like Penn State and you could be a star. You could also go to a different school, Ohio State, Iowa, wherever, and be, one of the absolute top dogs. For you, when you look at a team like Ohio State, what's your initial thoughts on it?
So I was out at Ohio State training the week before the junior trials. I was wrestling with Mendez, Coach Stever, and they're right around my waist. So that was amazing partners, and I learned a ton there. That was probably really good for me going into trials. Just that was probably the last grinding couple practices that I did, and we went pretty hard. So it was great to feel. Mendez was in my exact spot last year, and he got silver, U20 65 kg. So it was cool to learn from a guy who's been there, right? Yeah. He's been in my position, the exact actually that I was in. So Mendez is an awesome person, like you said. Had him on the podcast, and I wish him nothing but the best. But I think a place like Ohio State, like you said, Rudis is out there, so that's pretty cool. And they got a lot going for them. Like you said, they're a young team, and they're doing a lot of the right things. I know that a lot of the guys out there are living the right lifestyle. They got Sammy Sasso out there, who I've known my whole wrestling career. He's been an unbelievable person for myself and my brothers. He's treated us amazing. Nothing but respect for Sammy Sasso and what he's out there. He's the top of the line. So I like Sasso and stuff, and he's an amazing person. And they got a really awesome staff, and they're doing some great things. Obviously it's pretty local too. It's not too far. It's basically one highway the whole way there, and I think it's definitely an option. Every school's an option. I'm really excited. There's a lot of pros and all the different schools and stuff, and it's tough to even think about it now. There's just so many amazing places with amazing staffs, and I have so many connections, all around the country. So it'll be fun to see where some of the guys that I've grown up with wrestling and teammates go I think that definitely has a factor too. So excited for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, if I was there on the beach with you today, I think all I would do is sit there and go through every single school and get your opinion and I'm sure fans listening want me to bring up their school, Virginia Tech, Missouri, Rutgers, all of them. But we only have so much time, so I'm going to ask you one more. Iowa, one of the most storied programs, obviously, of all time. And, one of the fun things for fans watching where people will commit is picturing them. Okay, I can picture Bo Bassett, a Nittany Lion. If Bo Bassett's a Buckeye, this, that. I'm sure the Hawkeye fans want Bo Bassett on their team. And I know you're up at 65 now, but, man, their success lately, not just in college, but, 57 kilos, having 3 straight Olympians, having the runner-ups in 2 out of the 3 trials. Iowa's got a lot going on. What's your initial thoughts on Iowa from a recruiting standpoint?
Iowa obviously has been they've been the team for a long time, and they've always been up there. And I think that my coach Strip Matter went to Iowa, and so I've always heard stories about it. You go into his weight room, wrestling room, and stuff in his house, and you see the pictures of him on the wall in Iowa and stuff. And so that was the team I was introduced to at a young age. Spencer Lee obviously has always been probably one of my number 1 role models since I was young. When I was in elementary school, he was winning world titles, so it was pretty cool to see that. And we were in the same room from a young age, and then when he went to Iowa, I was a big Iowa fan for a while when Spencer was there. And so, again, there's so many good schools and so many great things about each one, and obviously they have their new facility that I believe just opened up and stuff, and to be partners with Spencer and some of the guys out there. Would be unbelievable, and obviously I love their staff, and I think a lot of people online, from what I'm seeing, they say I wrestle style, and I think honestly, that's awesome, but I don't want to be, I don't know, just categorized in someone's style. I think that for me, it's my style, trying to wrestle and be as the most exciting wrestler I can be and rememberable, and I think it's pretty cool to just even be put in that category, because obviously the Iowa style is a pretty big brand itself, and so I think that it's pretty cool what they're doing out there, and they got a lot going for them, so it's definitely an option. And that's been a school that I've known ever since the beginning. So
when you say you're wide open to all these schools, is it one of those things where it's like, you think of the tier 2, tier 3 schools, and I love that you're interested in this, and first of all, I can't imagine being a guy who, I don't really like business travel because I like being home so much. You could potentially have every weekend booked for the next 6 months with how many visits you can make. Do you have an under the radar team that maybe you're just looking forward to visiting? Maybe you're not leaning towards committing there, but just, is there any schools that you're just like, man, I love what they're doing, I just want to get on campus and see what it's like?
I think, honestly, there's so many amazing schools, and I know I said that, but for me, it's one of those things. The visits will start, I think, after Worlds, after Super 32, because, I'm going to be pretty locked in for that. So I'm not going to have that much time to go on visits. So by then, I think I'm going to have to talk with my parents on what schools I do want to take visits to, where I think I can best, what does happen over the next couple of months. But I think I'm looking forward to visiting, and just talking to all the schools. It doesn't matter what conference or how high tier. You have the aspect of you want to win, right? You want to win team titles. You want to be the best team, and you want to be on legendary teams making history. And then you have the aspect also if you want to be the man. Wherever you go, you want to be the guy. And you want to be the guy that people are selling tickets because you're there, right? And you're wrestling a style that people want to watch, and maybe you're changing the program. So I think you can go both ways with that. And, there's, like I said, there's so many schools that coaches from that maybe coached on my world team or will coach on my world team this year, and I'll get connections there. And, coaches that I've seen at the Olympic Training Center, or coaches that I've seen at this camp, or have come to Young Guns, right? And I have so many just unbelievable options. I think for me, it's just, almost letting God's plan take over, and whatever happens, happens. I'm really excited for it. And, I know I'll have my full support from my family wherever I go. I'm just really excited. And, every school has a chance, and I got connections everywhere. You can name a school, I can guarantee you I have a connection. I know someone there, or I've been there. So, it's going to be fun.
It's got to be humbling. I've got a couple fan questions for you, and one of the things that I just was thinking about as you're talking is it's got to be a cool thing where you grow up idolizing these guys. And I'm thinking about my guy Chenzo, for example, at UNC now. And I'm sure UNC would love to have you. And I'm thinking about, Nick Lee at Penn State dealing with recruiting now. And it's like, man, you grew up like idolizing these guys, watching them win NCAA titles, being like, not idolizing them from a worldly standpoint, but like, man, that's what I want to do. I want to win an NCAA title like that guy. I want to win a world championship like that guy. And now here they are going to be calling you, be like, do you want to come wrestle here? Will you come? Can you come out for the weekend? It's crazy. It's got to be a humbling experience. And that leads me to one of the fan questions from the GOAT follower. Being so young and competing already against guys you arguably grew up idolizing, have you been starstruck by anyone? Is there any college senior level wrestler that you wrestled and you're like, man, I can't believe I get to wrestle this guy?
100%. So I've entered in a lot of college opens or senior level brackets, right? And the last Qualifier, you had guys like I'll probably miss a few, but like Jay Nyerman, Ian Parker, Dean Heil. Even some of the guys when I was in middle school, and I was always a big fan of Who's Number One. So Jordan Williams and guys like that were in the weight, and they were guys I had always looked up to or was just almost a fan of, right? Yep. So something my dad and coaches have been preaching to me now is you can't be a fan anymore. It's not about being a fan, right? You don't watch wrestling as a fan anymore, right? You almost watch it as a competitor. If you're in my weight range, I'm going to have to beat you or I'm going to beat you. And I got to, maybe learn from you. But at some point, I'm going to have to take you out. And that's just how it is now. The young guys are really, really tough, and they're challenging these older guys at a lot younger age than they normally do. And so even, you think about it, some of the young hammers that are coming up now that are maybe younger than me, I'm going to probably have to compete against them someday, and they're going to be really good. They're going to be darn good and guys that I'm going to have to prepare for. And so it's crazy to put that into perspective and wrestle some of the guys that you idolized, growing up, even like Ashnault, wrestling him at Last Chance. That guy has always been a great person to me and my brothers and my family, and so he's always been awesome. I went to 2 of his camps growing up, and to wrestle him, it's an amazing opportunity, but it's one of those things. I'm a competitor. I believe I can beat anyone, and I'm going to be confident going into any match. And so as far as being starstruck, I think for a couple of moments there, it's kind of takes over, that competitor inside of you. It's well, now it's time to beat him, and now it's time to at least do your best and go out there and wrestle your style. And so I think that it's one of those things. If now that I'm getting bigger, it's kind of crazy. I've watched these guys my whole life, but now it's almost like you got to compete against them. And if you want to achieve your dreams and goals, it's an interesting thing that I haven't experienced until now in my career. And it almost hits you, you're starstruck for a little bit, and you can't even believe you're in the same bracket as this guy, or you may have to wrestle this guy if you qualify for this. And now it's just one of those things. It's you're there, and you got to believe that in your mind. And I think a lot of it comes with just belief and confidence. And once you believe, though, it's on, and it's time to scrap.
It's crazy, too, because guys like you mentioned, you're just training with Mendez. You guys could both be in the 65-kilo bracket in the 2028 Olympic trials. It's and I'm sure it'll be a lot more normal then, where I don't think you guys will cross unless he redshirts or something. But yeah, it's crazy to watch these. I'm curious too. Another fan question was, especially against the senior level guys, what's your mental approach before each match?
Right. So just what you were just talking about with Mendez, right? I think that's one special thing about wrestling. I don't think I'll ever cross paths with Mendez. I think I'm going to keep getting bigger, and I just don't think it's going to happen. But I think even if it was, he would have still wrestled me. He would have still helped me out like he did. We still could have gotten better. And I think that's pretty amazing about wrestling. You don't really see that in any other sport. You don't see NFL teams training together. You just don't. You don't see high school football teams or basketball teams training together. They just it's not like that in any other sport. So I think it's pretty amazing what wrestling has, and being able to train and just try to get everyone better. Make everybody better, and I think that's the ultimate goal. But I'm sorry, what was your question there?
Your mental approach before each match, and he asked specifically, especially against the senior level guys.
Yes. So honestly, it's the same as wrestling a high school guy. I think that for me, I'm trying to prepare the same for every single match. I want to go out there. I want to take him to a place he's never been. I want to ultimately break him. And I want to make him call injury time. I want to make him you know, feel extremely tired. Barely be able to walk off the mat. That's always been the goal of mine. And I think that's pretty powerful. And just training so hard, I think that every single time it's sprint a mile, machine gun mindset, and no one outworks me. So,
what happened that started this 5 a.m. chaos? How did that start?
So it started way back, at least 5 or 6 years ago for me. So myself and my dad woke up. And my brother was a little young to wake up back then. So it was just me and my dad for a while at 5 a.m. My whole life since like almost first grade, we woke up right before school and we do like a little circuit lift or 50 pull-ups, whatever it was. And we always did that. But recently, now that I'm in high school, right, and in middle school, I had to wake up earlier, obviously, to go to school because it starts earlier. And so we did 5 a.m. workouts. And so we get up, my dad and I, we normally lift. That just started things. And then I got to a point where I was about 100 pounds, and so I could start wrestling with the 125s at UPJ, which is a D2 school, but they're top 5 every single year. And they had a really good guy named Brendan Howard, and so he was a really tough 125-pounder. I'm not going to remember, I wasn't his size, but it wasn't like he was a huge 125. So we were able to scrap and play wrestle. And so he started 5 a.m.s then, probably a year or two after my dad and I did it. And so I remember getting him ready for the D2 Nationals. And he ultimately All-American then. And then that same year he came back, which was, showed character. After he had All-American, our states was a little bit later. And so he kept doing 5 a.m.s with me. And then he got me, and I won a state title that year. But that was the first year that I wrestled at 5 a.m. And then the year after that, we just saw how much success it gave, myself and Brendan. And so we opened it up to everyone. So my brothers started doing 5 a.m.s, and Jax Forrest and Gibson and all these guys started coming in for the 5 a.m.s. And so now it's a whole thing. And I can honestly say, though, not many people have been able to stick with it consistently throughout the whole year. We started this year. This is our 6th or 5th year, I believe, of 5 a.m.s at the beginning of the school year. And we only do it during the school year because in the summer we want to get our sleep and we'll just train during the day. But, we started with 28 at the beginning of the year. We went pretty consistent. I think halfway through the year we probably were down to like 14, 15, maybe a little more. And then at the end of the year, the last week, we were down to 8 people. 8 people were still going strong consistently. And, it's no secret, though. The best guys are still doing it at the end of the year. And, I think it's really powerful, not only in your performance, you're getting an extra workout, but it's a lot of mental warfare. And guys are waking up and they see you have a workout in. That's powerful for me.
I mean, are kids driving to this at 5 in the morning? Like, it's one thing for you to wake up and go downstairs and get a workout in. You're driving somewhere by. I mean, you're sharing the clock every day, 4:55, 4:56 in the morning.
Right. So for me, I'm really lucky. It's in my basement. Right. All these other guys. Yeah, that's a struggle for them. All I got to do is wake up. I set my alarm for 4:50. I roll out of bed. I get downstairs, and it's go time. But I think it shows a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifice, and it's going to prepare these guys for later in life when they may have to do that for a job, or maybe they keep doing their 5 a.m.s in college. And I know a lot of college guys don't do that, and that's going to set them apart when they get there. And I plan to do this for a long time. I think that it's you get the day going, right? You get started, you have that extra workout in, but it's a lot on the mental side. It's a lot of confidence come, match day, come competition day. And I think that being able to do that, being able to sacrifice sleep and being able to go to bed early the night before, right? It's not like I'm losing sleep. I'm just making sacrifices and, I'm just trying to do everything right. And I think it's extremely powerful in my performance, but also mentally.
Yeah, and it's a trait that will go with you the rest of your life because even after the workouts stop from a wrestling standpoint, number one, for a long time I was working out by 5:30, 5:45 every morning at the gym. And then even after that, getting married, having kids, like now it's one of my most productive hours to send emails and work, 5 to 6 a.m., going for a 2-3 mile walk. So even once the wrestling workouts stop, building that habit and routine of having productivity in the morning instead of sleeping in and then laying in bed and scrolling on your phone, like just having that morning time is so valuable. Another interesting fan question was, as you think about recruiting and your plans moving forward, have you given much thought to foregoing your senior year? We see guys that will go somewhere a year early just to train in the room and be around those guys. Have you given much thought to that yet, or will that kind of depend on, where you end up going?
I think it's always an option. I think the longer I can stay home, I think the better. I think, honestly, the best training that I can possibly get for myself is at home. until I find somewhere that I think I get better training at. Maybe that's an option, whether it's the Olympic Training Center or whether it's the college that I choose. I think that's always an option for sure. And I think maybe not for going the whole year, right? Maybe going a week out of every month here or there. The training, get better opportunities would be great. But I got to see what the guys in my class do, right? Jax Ford, Lincoln Sledjanowski, all these guys that are in my grade. I got to see if they're going to stay and stick around. And I believe that most of us want to, right? We want to be one of the best, if not the best, high school teams in the country. I'm already held back a year during COVID. And so I think that, I think right now I'm ready to go into college. I honestly think that I can eat right now. And obviously you always bet on yourself and you're always confident, but I truly believe I am, and I'm ready to go now. And so honestly, these last couple of years are just going to be about getting better. Just keep evolving, getting bigger, stronger, and, not veering off the path at all. Staying, doing what I'm doing, and going all in. I think that that's really important. So I put a little bit of thought into it. And that's something I'd have to talk with my family with and see what opportunities present themselves. And I know that the Olympic Training Center is still looking for a developmental coach, and I think that's a huge factor as far as, if I'll be out there a lot training, and really excited to see who they hire there. But I think, I'm just seeking the best training that I can. I think I'm ready to go into college now. I know I am. And I think these last couple of years is just about getting better and maybe being even more ready. And I think that that's pretty important.
I love it. All right, before I let you go enjoy a beach day, let's do some rapid fire. You told people to light up the Instagram with questions, and they sure did.
Yeah.
So we'll rapid fire. I'll read a bunch and just give it quick responses. All right. When you first started wrestling, what was your go-to move that you loved to do?
Headlock.
NC State ?
NC State. I love walk down there. There's a guy from my hometown that's down there, Jackson Arrington. He's doing a lot of great things. NC State's a great place.
How do you stay focused on wrestling? Because I love the sport, but in my diet and sleep, I suck.
Staying focused, I think it's a lot about who you have around you. And I love wrestling, so there's no place I'd rather be. I think always staying dialed in, and this is what I love to do.
As a high school wrestler, how do you manage school and homework and wrestling? I need to know.
Say that one more time.
As a high school wrestler, how do you manage school and homework with wrestling? I need to know.
School and homework is the first priority. It's always been. So in my family, if your homework's not done, you're not going to practice. And I'm not going to miss practice. So I'm going to get my homework done. I schedule my classes out best I can. Every single year, I try to get a study hall ninth period. So I'm getting my homework done. I can honestly say I could count on my fingers the amount of times I've had to do schoolwork at home this year. I'm really good with time management. And, I think that when it's a priority, you get it done. So I get my homework done, and I want to go to practice. So I got to get it done.
Time management, so crucial. All right, you're already at an elite level. So how do your coaches coach you to improve further?
Constantly having the white belt mentality. You can't perfect this sport, so you can always get better. There's always guys that are going to beat you, and you just got to seek better training, and you got to, you can never be too good, and you can never get too big-headed. If I win this, there's more to win, and there's always a higher thing. So I think, my coaches know way more than me, and I know that. So I can never really, perfect this sport, and that's something that I've been preached at a young age. So I think constantly trying to get better and knowing that there's something greater is really important, principle.
Are you going to be the third consecutive Bo at Penn State? We've seen Bo Nickel and now Bo Bartlett. We're going to need a third.
That's cool. It's funny. So I was at Nittany Lion. We were talking about doing a one-on-one event, me and Bo Bartlett versus Bo Nickel. So that may happen, but I think Bo Bartlett. So.
That's great. What are the best ways you found to get your endurance up?
Mentality. Believing that I can take people to deep waters and train and be able to go almost double the time that a match like this. A match is not hard compared to my training. So it's a lot of belief and breaking guys.
Do you have a favorite wrestling-specific exercise for working out?
I would just say cardio, doing things that get you going, things that simulate almost a match. Whether it's snap downs, right, doing rope pulls is simulating pulling in a shot or snapping people down, whether it's doing push-ups, right? A lot of that stuff, can emulate into wrestling, and a lot of the suplex stuff does that as well.
couple more here. What's the hardest high schooler match you wrestled?
Somewhere in the room. I wrestled a ton of unbelievable guys in the room. And I would say somewhere in the room doing a match in the wrestling room. I think my best matches are in the wrestling room. I see competition, so I would say in the room.
When's the match with Caden Henschel?
He actually texted me, so it may happen. And I know he's got a lot going on. Obviously, now I got the World Championships that I got to focus on. But, it may happen, and he's a great guy. I love what he's doing, and it's pretty cool that has gotten so much hype. I've heard a lot about it.
All right, last one here. What's something outside of wrestling that you're passionate about?
My faith. I would say my faith. It's really come really important in the last couple of years. And without that, I wouldn't be here. And I know without wrestling, I still have my faith, and that's all I need.
I love it. All right, Bo, thank you for making time this morning before I'm delaying your beach day. The fans are thankful. I'm thankful. This might be the best backdrop. As long as people, I got to imagine the waves sound nice. I could be alone in that. But this is so far 237 episodes in. This is my favorite backdrop.
Let's go. I appreciate it, and I'm just really excited. Right, we got Pan Ams in July. That'll be fun. I'll be training for that. We have training camps all year long, all summer long here in Johnstown, PA. So hit us up, come train, and room's always open. We're really excited for that. And then we got Worlds in September, and it's time to peak.
I'm pumped, man. Well, listen, I'm sure Flo or somebody's going to pay you a lot of money to make your announcement, but the opportunity is there. If you need a platform to announce your decision, you are more than welcome to make it here. And despite the rumors, people who come on this podcast have a tendency of committing to Penn State. I don't care where you commit. You're welcome to make the decision on the show if you'd like.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. We'll see how it goes. I know Flo is going to be coming out and covering a lot this summer. We got a really solid room, and we're just really excited for the opportunities that brings. But they followed Anthony Knox last year through his recruiting process, and they're doing the same for, I believe, myself and Jax Forrest is here. And a lot of the guys in our grade as well are really high profile, so they'll be following them as well. And
I love that.
We're really excited. We'll have a lot of coverage over the summer and a lot of work to be done. So I'm excited to get after it.
It's such cool content that I know as a wrestling fan, whether it's in the media or being a fan, the more you guys allow the transparency, it helps. It builds the storylines. People want the behind the scenes. So many people are just like, here's a picture of me in the room. Here's a picture of me in the room. And that's great. But, you see like the questions, like what's something you're passionate outside of wrestling? What's this look like? So I'm excited for that. We're all going to be tuning in. Everybody following, go follow Bo if you already don't. He's got a heck of a lot more followers than me, so I'm sure you guys are all already following him. But I'll link those up below. Bo, go have a great beach day, and we'll talk soon, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, buddy. See ya.
And the beat goes on.